The account recorded in Acts of the Apostles 23, verse 23 through to 35, presents a moment where the movement of the gospel advances under the unlikely protection of imperial authority. The narrative centers on Paul the Apostle, whose life had been threatened by a conspiracy, yet whose preservation unfolds through the very system that opposed the message he carried. A detachment of soldiers is assembled under the command of a Roman tribune, tasked with escorting Paul safely by night. The scale of the escort, hundreds of soldiers, horsemen, and spearmen, reveals both the seriousness of the threat and the decisive intervention of governing power. What appears as a political maneuver is, in truth, the unseen orchestration of divine purpose. The message entrusted to Paul is not hindered by hostility, rather, it is carried forward through it. The letter written by the tribune to Antonius Felix frames Paul not as a criminal, but as one whose conflict arises from disputes concerning the law and accusations without merit of death or imprisonment. In this, the narrative subtly affirms the innocence of the one who bears the proclamation. The charges brought against him cannot stand in the realm of truth, for the reality he declares transcends the system that seeks to judge him. Paul is brought to Caesarea, the seat of Roman governance in the region. There, he is presented before Felix, and the letter is read aloud. The governor, upon hearing the case, orders that Paul be kept in Herod's praetorium until his accusers arrive. Even in custody, Paul is preserved, not abandoned. The setting shifts from Jerusalem, the center of covenantal history, to Caesarea, a symbol of Gentile authority, indicating the widening scope of what is being revealed. This passage reflects a transition already underway. The old structures, rooted in the law, sustained by accusation, and guarded by zeal, are shown to be powerless against the unfolding of a greater reality. The opposition of certain men, bound to the former order, cannot halt what has already been accomplished. The life, righteousness, and standing of Paul do not depend on the verdicts of earthly courts, but on what has already been secured. The presence of Roman protection highlights an irony. Those who are outside the covenantal framework act as instruments in preserving the one who proclaims its fulfillment. This underscores that the fulfillment is not fragile, nor contingent upon human defense. It stands complete, upheld by a power that does not require validation from either religious or political systems. The journey from Jerusalem to Caesarea also carries symbolic weight. Jerusalem, once the focal point of divine dealings, no longer holds the exclusive place it once did. The movement outward signifies that what has been established is not confined to a location or mediated through a temple, but is fully realized and accessible beyond those former boundaries. In Paul's preservation, there is a quiet testimony. The message he bears cannot be extinguished because it is not in process of being accomplished. It rests on what has already been brought to completion. The threats, the plots, and the accusations serve only to highlight the contrast between what is fading and what endures. Thus, the narrative stands as a witness to the certainty and sufficiency of what has been established. The unfolding events do not contribute to its completion. They reveal its unshakable nature. Even under guard, even amid accusation, the reality remains unchanged, carried forward not by human effort, but by the finished work that defines it.